My name is Dr. Daniel Doyle, and today I'm going to talk to you about some tips to help reduce some injuries and enhance your performance for your upcoming 5K. So we're really going to try to get you prepared to run your first 3.1 mile run, and we want you to do that safely and most importantly effectively. So I'm the clinic director at Newman Chiropractic Center, and I'm located right down the street on Freeport Road. We're in between Sherman-Williams and Med Express. And I've been there for about over a year, and I look forward to giving you some points and pointers and some tips. So we're really looking forward to help you be your best during that 5K, so catch the 5K. What are we going to talk about today? First, we're going to talk about how to prepare for the race in advance. So we're going to give you a couple different tips on how to make sure that we're not just jumping into this 5K and taking it lightly, even though if we may have ran a 5K in the past or been an athlete, we still don't want to take this lightly. We want to make sure that we're preparing our body for this race, and that will absolutely prevent some unnecessary injuries along the way. We want to make sure that you come out of this 3-mile run alive and ready. So we also want to go over what to do on that race day before the race, as well as after the race. And ultimately, this is about enhancing your performance, making sure you're able to get any of the goals that you want from this race, as well as really reduce the risk of injury. Even though it's a 3-mile run, we still see a lot of injuries during these types of events, just because we're not preparing properly and we really take it lightly. So we want to make sure that we have a fun day, and it's especially an injury-free running day. So how to prepare for the race? So I just wanted to go over a 5K, the 3.1 mile run, and it's really important that we plan ahead so that we don't have these injuries. So it's extremely important not to take this run lightly, especially if you are new to running. So a 5K, again, is 3.1 miles, and you train properly to run that distance. If you never ran that distance before, you need to build up to avoid hurting yourself. What we want to see is you be able to run 10 minutes straight. So build yourself up to 10 minutes straight before you really start tackling the mileage there. And if you're able to, we want to start by running 1 mile, and then we want to continually increase a half mile until you reach that 3.5 miles. And obviously, once you hit that 3.5 miles, we know that we are capable of running the 3.1, which is really important, not only physically but mentally, to know that you're able to get to the complete distance. You should not increase each run until you feel comfortable in adding those miles. So it's really important that we just don't, we ran 2 miles, it felt really, it didn't feel very well, and then we want to start the next day at a 2.5 mile run. No, we want to stick at that marker until it feels very comfortable to run that. And it's really important that you understand your body when you're going through that. So we don't want to start off at, okay, I ran 10 for 10 minutes now, I'm going to go ahead and run the 3.1 miles. No, we want to build our body into that shape. So we want to avoid running on consecutive days. Give yourself some rest. Running is pretty static on the body, so we want to make sure that we're giving our body the ability to rest and heal any injuries or damage that's sustained any of the soft tissue involved. Running is very hard on your muscles, joints, ligaments, and even organs, so we want to make sure that we give ourselves adequate rest. So cross-training is really important during this time, so we don't want to just continuously run. We want to give our body, we want to continue to exercise and work out our cardiovascular system. However, we don't want to just continually beat up our legs, especially our ankles and our knees. So I always recommend whenever we're going for, the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, and the marathon, that we don't just hyper focus on running. So we want to make sure that we're doing different types of things as biking, swimming, weightlifting. Exercising before the event, especially weightlifting, can be very, very beneficial to not only your performance but injury prevention. So it is definitely something that you want to look into. I also think swimming is the best option. I swam collegiately at university at Duquesne, so maybe I'm a little biased, but it's much easier on our joints. So instead of gravity beating our joints up, we're having buoyancy lift us up, so it's actually a force helping us out. So it's a lot easier on the joints, and it's great for recovery days. I also think, like I said, weightlifting and biking are great options. We avoid doing the same activity all the time because that will lead to that repetitious movement injuries, and that's when we see people doing the same thing over and over again. We overwork those tissues, and that's what leads to injury. And so weightlifting is really important. I definitely recommend you get on some sort of weightlifting routine, and that not only do we focus on our legs, but our arms. If any questions or concerns about certain weightlifting programs to do before or just in general the race, you can always give me a contact. I have my contact information at the end, and I'd gladly help you out with that. Also, everyone needs to start drinking more water right now. Basically, our society is in a constant state of dehydration. It really is recommended that we drink 2 liters of water a day. And a lot of times people think, oh, my God, that's ridiculous. But once we make some little easy habit changes, it does make it a lot easier on you, and you feel more energetic, your metabolism is boosted, and you're overall in a healthier state. So if you're preparing for this run properly, you need to hydrate your body on a daily basis starting right now. And we have this 8x8 rule, which is 8-ounce glasses of water a day. And, if you're having trouble in taking that much water, I suggest buying a 32-ounce Nalgene water bottle. And you fill it up in the morning, make it by lunch, and then you fill it up at lunch, make sure you drink it by the end of the day. And really that's when you, if you've done that, you succeed in drinking the water, what your water allotment for the day. And it really does make it easier just having that bottle sit on your desk or sit at your home, knowing that you only have to get through that by halfway through the day, and then just one more time. But drinking water is very important in your race preparation. So I highly recommend that you start drinking water right now. Here are some exercises before the race that I kind of outlined here. There's a couple things I want you to do. You can write down the names of these exercises, and I really want you, I'm not going to go into detail about exactly how to perform these properly or the perfect technique. It's just simply by putting these in Google and YouTubing them, you will have a plethora of different options to really study the movements and make sure that you are not only doing the movements right, but you're preventing yourself from injuring your back. Like a single-legged Romanian deadlift, we want to keep our spine in a neutral position whenever we're leaning over. If we hollow out our back, we're going to be injuring those tissues, and it's basically like bending over with our back. We don't want to do that. We want to use our leg, and it's the planning leg, and really it's a hamstring activity, and it's an eccentric hamstring activity, which is extremely important for injury prevention. So we want to work on the exercises before the race that are most commonly injured in running, and that's our hamstring. So the single leg Romanian deadlift is a great one. I also have written down gym ball hamstring curls. Really simple. You get one of those ab balls, you lay on your back, and you do a hamstring curl. Like I said, you can just simply Google or YouTube that, and that's a pretty easy exercise to strengthen your hamstrings. Our core, we want to do planks and bridges. We want to avoid doing sit-ups or crunches, just because it's really easy unless we're doing the proper technique of sit-ups and crunches to injure our back. Planks and bridges are extremely, extremely great exercises that help our endurance of our core, and that's really important for us when we're doing any type of dynamic activity such as running, swimming, biking, anything like that. We want to make sure that we don't have the big specs. Yeah, that's not that important. We want to make sure that we have those flat and endurance abs, and that's really important, and it's really activated with planks and bridges. Hip stabilizer, that's really important too. This is our glute medius. We all know about our big glute maximus. However, we got to make sure that we are strengthening the pelvic stabilization or the hip stabilization muscles. Step outs and clamshells, just go ahead and write those down. What you'll see is that basically it's really simple. The step outs are just putting a band around our legs and side stepping. You go 10 paces, you come back 10 paces, work both legs. Clamshells, you'll be laying on your side, and we'll be working on our external rotators of our hip. Again, simply just writing in step outs, clamshell, and exercise into Google, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. And then, of course, we want to work on our Achilles heel, our calf raises. It's really important that we don't put a bunch of weight. You always see this in the gym. They put, 200 pounds, and we hurry up and we push up on our calf raises and we slam it back down. That's not really helping us, okay? Whenever we're doing calf raises and really any exercise in general, we want to do it slowly in a controlled manner, both up and down. So whenever we're doing a calf raise, yes, we're pushing up on our toes. I want you to do that in a very controlled manner, but it's really important, especially if we're working on injury prevention, that as we lower our heels to the ground, we do that in a controlled manner too. That's actually more important for injury prevention than pushing up on your toes. So the big my presentation today is how to make sure we are warming up properly, okay? Warm up, it has been really hot topic lately, probably over the last 10 years, on how to proficiently work out, warm up, and how to really make sure that we are trying to reduce our injury risk, and we are really warming up our muscles and our tissues for enhanced performance. Warming up is essential for injury prevention and peak performance. Is that warm muscles and tissues are less likely to become injured or damaged, and as well as increasing our strength. So those are two really important things. Force and increase in length are needed to damage tissues. So that is why that's better to warm up versus not. So whenever we have warm tissues, it takes more of a force or tension on that tissue to cause damage. So we see people that have warmed up are less likely to be injured. So this will prevent new acute injuries such as a hamstring strain, but it also work with those nagging injuries that you've had for a while. When we warm up, if you have chronic ankle instability and you twist your ankle, warming up will help reduce the risk of you twisting your ankle during this run or any activity. So when we're doing our warm up, we want to make sure we're doing it before the race, but we're preparing for the race and we're training for the race. We need to adequately warm up before any sort of activity that we're doing. And warming up, it also prepares you for the physical demands of the upcoming event. So as you will see, we are not going to be doing static stretching from the picture with a big X over it. But what we're going to be doing is this active daily warm-up, or this active stretching dynamic workout. So what we want to do is that, static stretching is not the best form of warming up. So, I personally wish that they would have told me that back when I was competing, but now it's important to make sure that we are learning from the research and we are giving ourselves the best fighting chance to reduce those injuries and have the best performance that we have. So I'm going to go over the myth of static stretching because it's kind of implemented into our life. We have something that's tight and we want to stretch it, and especially before an athletic event. I always see this before people in the gym, that before they go on the treadmill, they're stretching out their hamstrings, they're stretching out their quad, and they're bringing this muscle to attention, and they're holding it there for anywhere between 30 and 45 seconds. And that's not the best way to warm up. So we definitely want to look into this. And the thing is that it's actually hindering our performance. So as you can see, when we static stress before an event, it makes us slower and weaker. Two things we obviously do not want to happen from our warm-up. So research does show that significant strength impairment in individuals who practice static stretching before lifting, as opposed to those who perform dynamic warm-ups. They believe it or not, that we had less range of motion when doing the activity. So even though we think that we're taking this muscle and we're stretching it and we're lengthening it, really what we're doing is only in that plane. So if we stretch out our hamstring, we might be able to touch our toes a little bit easier, but when we're actually doing the run and we're using our hamstring, it has a less range of motion, which is obviously going to lead to higher injury risk. So when we go to perform an activity where the muscle has to move, stiffens up. That's what we're seeing. So loosening muscle and tendons in the traditional manner leaves them less able to move quickly and on command, come workout time or come activity time or come race time. So after you work out, it doesn't really appear to have any negative effects to do that static stretching. If you're, after we're done doing the race or after we're done doing our training, it's okay to, sit down and get that muscle into a particular position and stretch it out. We definitely do not want to do any static stretching before our event. So what we want to do is active dynamic warm-ups. This is what activates your muscles, and it activates the muscles that you'll be using during your workout. So, for example, a lunge with a twist is a dynamic stretching exercise that engages your hips, your legs, and your core muscles. So you're doing weighted lunges in the gym or lunging for a soccer ball, the muscles involved have already been engaged during your warm-up. So the thing here is that we want to start engaging these muscles that we're going to be using while running. So it activates muscles you will be using during that run. So that's really important. So if you don't warm up and hop into a soccer game, it may take a while for your body to perform optimally. And during that time, while it's warming up, we're at an increase for risk of injury. So stretch challenges your balance and coordination. That can also help your performance. If we're warming up and we're working our ankles, so when and they're active, whenever we hit that rock on our 5K run and we start to twist our ankle, if it's already activated, we have a chance of turning that ankle in as well. So these have revealed dynamic stretching before a workout can help you lift more weight and increase your overall athletic performance compared to no stretching or just static stretching. So if you're trying to get stronger, build more muscle, or simply perform better, a dynamic warm-up routine is your best bet. So you should actively warm up before all workouts. And like I said before, this is before training sessions as well as your actual 5K race. So over a warm-up plan that I recommend you do and you perform before any type of running. And really what we're going to do here is kind of go over each exercise real quick and again write down the names of these exercises and definitely YouTube them and make sure you research them. So bird dog is actually a yoga exercise, and obviously we would have to do this on the grass area near the race or the grass area near the area that you plan on running before. But this is a core activation exercise. So like I said before, we want to start strengthening our core muscles, our abs, and this is a great way to do it. So not only is this strengthening our core, but it's also stretching out our hip flexors. So getting our arms activated, and it's doing a lot of different things that are really crucial during running phases. So bird dog is a great warm-up exercise, and I recommend doing that first. One is cat-cow. It's another yoga exercise. I steal off yoga all the time. Plenty of research states that it helps with low back pain, but it also helps with everyday movement patterns. But what we're going to be doing is running, so I definitely recommend doing the cat-cow pose. And as you can see, we want to start in that screeched up position, that hollowed out position, and then come back down to that second position. And really what this is great for is just mobilizing our mid-back. And what it does help is it helps open up our lungs and our airways. And, of course, we do not want to have any restricted breathing whenever we start out our race because, a mile and a half in, our body's already going to be doing that. So we definitely want to make sure that we're warming up our mid-back, warming up our lungs, and that, we're stretching that mid-back and getting it ready. B squat, this activates basically our entire lower kinematic chain. It's a great exercise to activate the hamstrings and the glute. This exercise seems really easy and harmless. If it's not done properly, it can lead to injury and damaged tissue. It's really important. I love this picture because it shows you exactly how to do it. Keeping straight back, neutral back is important. If we lean forward, it's going to put a lot of pressure back there. Make sure our knees are behind our toes. As soon as our knees go in front of our toes, we're putting extreme pressure on our ACL joint. We definitely don't want to cause any damage to that before our event. And the depth of your squat really does depend on the flexibility of your hamstrings. Now, this says hips below parallel, but it really just get to a position wherever your body is allowing you to get to. I don't want you to try to force yourself to get those hips below parallel, because that's going to lead to injury. We just got to no matter how tight our hamstrings are, we got to get to that position. The body squat is great to start activating basically all of those muscles involved in running. Walking lunge is another great one. Again, we want to make sure that our knee is not in front of our toes. We don't want to do the tight the tight rope walk when we're doing our lunges. I see a lot of people trying to get there. They're acting like they're walking on a tightrope, but that's not what we want to do. We want to get a nice broad step, lower your back knee to the ground, maintain a straight neutral spine, and we want to push up from our back foot out of that kneeling position. Again, these are not meant to be when we're warming up. We don't have to do 30 reps of these. We want to just activate these muscles. So even if it's doing 2 on each leg, it's going to be very, very important that we start activating these muscles. This is a great stretch, the Tin Man walk or the zombie walk. You'll see professional athletes, if you get there before the games, you'll see this with football players before they put the pads on. Soccer players do this all the time. It's a great dynamic stretch for hamstrings. You start doing this, and you'll find yourself just when you're walking around doing this. It's really, really great. Again, we make sure we keep our neutral spine. Her knee is slightly bent. That time we want to keep our leg as straight as possible. However, make sure your own hamstring flexibility is the one that's dictating that. So we want to make sure that if we have really tight hamstrings, you might have basically a whole bent knee. That's okay. You still want to feel that stretch in the back of our hamstrings. Then toe touches. It's really important that we don't do a touch and just hold it there. We want to make sure we go touch our toes, come back up, touch our toes, come back up, touch our toes, come back up. Again, really great hamstring activation activity there. Leg swings forward and side. Again, dealing off these soccer players, this is really great. This is going to activate not only our hip flexors, our extenders, and then what we call our abductors and adductions. So the second picture is really important, that we swing our legs side to side and front to back. That is really important. So last but not least, this is really important. And once we are finished with those exercises, we really want to make sure we jog around. So that's the last but not least. We want to make sure that our first strides are not during the actual race. This will help you get prepared mentally for the run as well. You're in the zone, you'll know exactly. We got our first steps done, and you'll be ready to run that 5K. So these exercises, again, we shouldn't be exhausted or sweating profusely. Your heart rate should be elevated, and you should be sweating a little bit, but shouldn't be going through the roof. We don't want to expend too much energy before the race, okay? This is your warm-up, and you still have to do the 5K or the workout, so we don't want to be totally exhausted there. Now, after the race, this is a very common mistake, and I'm guilty of it as well. We have to cool down, okay? So you have to cool down after your race and training sessions. And again, this is the number one mistake everyone makes, even high-level athletes. It's important to allow your heart rate to gradually come down and the muscles to cool down. So if you have a desire to stack stretch, now's the time to do it. And of course, you need to hydrate after you complete an activity such as a 3-mile run. It's important to allow our bodies to start healing. So this is accomplished by those things listed above. Everything from properly training before the event to doing specific weightlifting exercises to warming up to cooling down are really vital to reduce your chances of injuring yourself. So if we skip any of these steps, you, of course, are increasing your chances of damaging yourself and really not reaching your true peak performance. That being said, I kind of skipped through that. There's the after the race there, sorry. So performance testing, if you have any questions or concerns before a race, what can you do to, what specific workout routines, is there anything that is in my spinal alignment? Is there any of my hips, my knees, my ankles, my shoulders? Is there anything going on there that is going to increase our risk of injury? If you have any questions about that, please give me a call. I would absolutely love to do some performance testing thing what we do when athletes come into our office. We see, how symmetrical they are. If one hip isn't rotating as well as the other hip, we want to make sure that, is it a muscle, is it a joint? We want to make sure that we are correcting any biomechanical faults. Again, anytime that we see those patients come in, we know that they are at a higher risk for injury when we have that asymmetry. So we want to make sure that the muscles that are tight, we stretch them out, but we also work them out, and any joint, any underlying joint dysfunction that we tear up. So we are looking for, obviously, if you're looking for a second opinion, or if you're looking for just advice in general before the event, please give me a call at 412-781-5040. I would love to answer any of your questions, and of course, if you need to schedule an appointment, we can always make sure that we get you in the schedule. And again, I'm just located right down Freeport Road. I hope that this was informative. Really, make sure the warm-up is the most important thing that we went over today. That dynamic warm-up is what we want to do. We want to avoid static stretching until after the event. So thank you much. My name is Dr. Daniel Doyle again, and I hope to see you around the office. Take care.